Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So I am back again, once again. Parents are furious, furious after a school hires a teacher charged with attempted murder. Now, I just want to say this again, and I've said this before, I'm not surprised by this kind of activity because this school is actually out of, I believe it might be out of California. It is actually in Illinois. However, California has its issues with hiring people who are not qualified. They've had issues with that. And they've also had issues, and I'm adding this in here, that they've had issues hiring where, let's say, for example, you're the principal of the school. This is an example. And your sister wants a job as a teacher. Your cousin wants a job as a custodian. And your grandmother wants a job working in the school cafeteria. California schools, public schools. There are some public schools where everybody in the office is related. You say something to one person, you've said it to the whole family. That I've known personally to have happened where a lot of people are related and they all work at the same place, or they all work in the office, or they all somehow they get a job relatively quick. And that puts others who, if you don't know anybody and you're trying to get employed at some of these schools, you can't, or it's harder to get employed or get into positions because somebody's brother is filling that spot, or somebody's mother, or somebody's cousin, or somebody's best friend, or their besties. And so it's all connected. There's a lot of conspiracy that goes on in some of these schools. So this is not a shocker at all. Anyway, without further ado, there is a video attached to this. So parents in Illinois are furious because they hire a teacher that has been charged with attempted murder. Okay, just a moment. Andres Rodriguez, 39 years of age, was hired to teach sixth grade students English at an Illinois school despite being charged. He was charged with attempted murder for allegedly shooting a man 7 times. 7 times. But he gets hired. He gets a job. He gets a job when there's other people that are out there who have not had any criminal activity, such as this one, and they can't find a job. But this one, he gets in there, he gets hired, and they allow him to teach kids English. Shoots a man 7 times. Okay, without further ado.
It is over this teacher being hired, despite the fact that he is now facing 9 counts of attempted murder. The flyer was created to encourage those in the community to come to last night's board meeting and sound off. The controversy is over Andres Rodriguez. In August, he was hired as a 6th grade English teacher for the Lyons School District, and parents here are outraged. He's facing attempted murder charges, which are felonies for a 2017 shooting in Tinley Park. It followed an argument with the driver, and prosecutors say he then pulled out a gun and shot that driver 7 times. Last night, the Lyons School Board had its first meeting since all this has come to light. Parents and students upset that Rodriguez was even hired to teach for those 2 months. Board members say they didn't know about the charges until last week. And despite Rodriguez being fired from 2 other school districts, state and local leaders are now calling for the district superintendent to resign.
He is the #1 story out there. So it's kind of hard to miss the guy at this point, okay? Because it's a horrific case.
How did he get by the vetting process? Misspell his name, change an initial, whatever. You're sitting there and nobody knows. How are you going to correct the problem? How are you going to prevent it happening again?
So the school board never really explained how this all happened. Keep in mind, Rodriguez has not been convicted of the attempted murder charges yet, and he's currently on paid administrative leave from the Lyon School District. And right now, state lawmakers are working to try to come up with some new laws to prevent this from happening again in the future.
There you have it. I'm going to add some more onto this. And I just want to tell you people, this is a prime example of what these schools are capable of. And a lot of times you're thinking that you're sending your kids to schools that are safe and that the staff is safe and your kids are around certain teachers. Now, these are lead instructors, mind you, with all these degrees in education, teaching your kids, yet they allow them in with this type of history of violence. No, he hasn't been convicted, but he is on the radar. It didn't say he didn't do it either. It said specifically that he shot a man 7 times. 7 times, count it. 7's not once, twice, 7 times. And if you look at this man's photo as they showed him, he didn't look very welcoming. Not as I saw him. He looked pretty, rough around the edges. Intimidating. Is that what I'm trying to find the words to put it? But yeah, I just want to add to this to say that this is Chicago, Illinois, but it doesn't just happen in Chicago. It doesn't just happen in Illinois. It happens in California too. It happens probably in other places, other states where, they have teachers. If you've seen the news and you see how there's incidences, scandal after scandal after scandal of either pedophilia or teachers that have slept with kids or teachers that are abusive to kids, where they're doing something that, because the classrooms don't have cameras, because it used to be the classrooms years ago, classrooms had cameras. Not anymore. Some of the classrooms, you wouldn't believe some of the things that go on in these classrooms with some of these instructors, these lead instructors. You would not believe what kind of stuff goes on. Not all of these people are who you think they are. You really have to be careful about who you're sending your kids to school with. And it's sad because a lot of this flies under the radar. A lot of this is ignored or they turn a blind eye. A lot of times, and I'm going to be very honest, and I know some people are going to doubt, but I know what I'm talking about when I say some people will have a violent past or they will be shady. There's also racism that plays a part in some of these schools. It's deep in there. There's favoritism, nepotism. There's a lot of isms. There's sexual harassment that goes into some of these schools, these public schools. And a lot of people are not knowing. They're unknowing about this stuff. Some people are afraid to come out and speak out about some of the problems that have happened in some of these schools because they're afraid of losing their job or being ostracized by other teachers who gang up on them. Yes, I said it, who gang up on them because there are cliques, there's friendships, and there are little groups that protect one another in their foolishness, in their deceitfulness. there are things like that that goes on. Sometimes there's schools you think the principal is running it, and the principal is not even there half the time. The teachers run the school. There have been schools like that. There have been schools where the principal is there, but the principal doesn't even act like a principal. The teachers run everything. It's what the teacher says goes, even if it isn't right, even if it isn't following the rules, even if it is going against other people that are staff. There's a lot of divisions that are in some of these schools. And so who knows how that teacher got in there? There's probably other teachers. He's just but one of many. There's probably other teachers that they haven't uncovered yet that have a history of doing things, and you don't want to find out. Well, you do if you're sending your kid there. Let me tell you, these schools, a lot of them that have the lawsuits, there's a reason why. Some of the lawsuits are never televised, they're never publicized because it's too graphic or there's too much drama involved and they don't want it to get out to the public. And so a lot of times they hide things, they sweep it under the rug, and they go to litigation and they go through all of their court drama rigmarole. They've had parents that have sued some of these schools. And so they do their little song and dance with these parents to please them. But when the parents are gone and the lawyers are gone, they're back to their old tricks again. Now, this is heavy, what I'm saying. But I'm saying this because it comes in time with this right here. Parents are furious after the school hires a teacher charged with attempted murder. This is not the only school that's hired people that have a history of pedophilia. Oh yeah, I said it. There's a ring of teachers that are involved in that kind of activity. There's a ring of teachers that are involved in things that are probably not something that you as parents would want your kids to be exposed to, or around a person that is exposing themselves to those type of behaviors or lifestyle. And so I'm saying in terms of, you know, this type of like violence, you know, manipulative, you know, they probably don't really have all the requirements necessary to be there. Or if they do have all the requirements necessary, they have something they're hiding, you know, like they have pedophilia issues, anger issues, or they're racially biased to children and staff, and they're hiding that. And they have a mess load of write-ups that could have been written up, but they always sweep it under the rug whenever it has to do with race. Some of the schools are like that. You know, what are we talking about now? You know, that's half of LAUSD and LA County schools when it comes to race issues. And no, it doesn't matter. Some schools will have a diversity of teachers, but sometimes kids are treated a particular way because of who they are. I just read to you about what they were doing at some of the school districts, how they were arresting the Black students. So that pretty much is just the tip off the iceberg of what kind of stuff happens in these schools. So racism is learned. It starts early, not only just in the household, but at the schools too. Yeah, and you would think, oh, maybe it's the kids saying racial names. No, you have some of the teachers that are saying things. And not only to the kids, they're saying things to staff that's inappropriate. And somehow they never get fired when they should, because they're working with your Black daughters and your Black sons, but they have an issue with people of color. And you wonder why your kid is never able to advance in that classroom. And I've been saying this, and I've been putting this out there, and it isn't a lie. It's the truth. And the truth hurts. So this is not a surprise to me. Parents should be furious, not only that they hire a teacher that has been charged with attempted murder, but they should be furious about these school districts in general, about how they sweep a lot of chaos and a lot of conspiracy that goes on in these schools. They sweep it under the rug. And if you just look at some of these schools that have lawsuits, it'll change the way you think about these public schools, especially here in California too. Oh, we've got some lawsuits. Some of these schools have some lawsuits, and they're a doozy. And we have people that are at these schools who are cutting themselves huge checks. I bet the parents don't know about that. That's why they can't get new playground equipment. That's why certain programs are cut. And they always have an excuse. We don't have money for this and that. They only have money for the things that they want to have money for. But the things that they don't want to have money for, all of a sudden they don't have money for it. Don't ask why. With that being said, thanks for listening.